Everyone is reading this market wrong, and it's costing them money. Right now, in the Northeast Metro Atlanta area, the market is slow but steady. Sellers want top dollar, buyers know they don't have as much competition, so it feels like a standoff. I'm Sarah Maslowski with KeyPoint Homes Group, and my team help people from all over the country relocate right here to Georgia. Compared to the last few years, the market looks completely different. Inventory is up, but pricing hasn't moved down with it. And with that mismatch, it is exactly where people are making a mistake. Let's dive into it. We have some of the highest inventory levels that we've seen in years, with the amount of homes on the market in the greater Atlanta area up almost 24%. And the average days on market currently sits at around 47 days. This gives buyers significantly more choices and less urgency to jump at the first option. With all of these active listings across the greater Atlanta area, this makes for a more balanced environment than recent years. Despite having plenty of options, buyers aren't always having the easiest time with stubborn sellers who are slow to negotiate on pricing and high interest rates. It's not a cakewalk being a home buyer in today's landscape. One glimmer of hope is that Fannie Mae's recent monthly economic and housing outlook predicts that mortgage rates will average 6.4% at the end of this year and around 6% at the end of 2026. This has shifted downward from a month ago when Fannie Mae said year-end mortgage rates would be about 6.5% in 2025 and just over 6% next year. Now, if mortgage rates do make their way below 6% threshold late next year, it would be the first time they've reached that level since 2022. Since then, elevated rates have combined with record high home prices, which has forced many buyers out of the market, which has significantly decreased the number of home sales here in the U.S. as a whole. Rates have been moving slightly since the Federal Reserve's first interest rate cut back in September of this year, which was the first since 2024. But movement in bond markets suggests that they may have bottomed out for the time being, and we should expect them to hold steady. Freddie Mac, on the other hand, forecasts that rates could rise some through the end of the year, climbing back up to around 6.5% by December. And Realtor.com's economic research team's mid-year forecast update predicted the same thing. Mortgage rates largely follow movements in the 10-year Treasury yield, which reflects investor expectations for growth and inflation. But this is not the only thing that they are tied to. Upcoming reports on labor and inflation data will have the biggest impact on rates here in the next few weeks, so this is something that we are going to keep our eye on. So what does all of this mean? Is it suddenly going to be affordable to buy a house again? Well, unfortunately, not quite. Right now, over 80% of homeowners have a mortgage rate below 6%, and about 10% have one between 5 and 6%. The average rate on existing mortgages in the first quarter was 4.3%, according to the Federal Housing Financing Agency. So even if rates dip under 6%, it likely won't be enough to convince a huge wave of sellers rushing to give up their current low rates. Although, like we talked about earlier, inventory is not really our biggest issue here in the Northeast metro area. It's more of an issue with interest rates for buyers. After seeing rates above 7% in recent years, anything starting with a 5 can feel a lot more normal and affordable. So if this did come to fruition, we might see a shift in mindset for buyers, and that would create a ton of demand. But at the end of the day, affordability comes down to more than just interest rates. It's also about the home prices and income. People don't want to give up their low interest rate for a higher one, plus pay more money for a house with that elevated interest rate. So listen to this. According to Fannie Mae, for the housing market to return to average affordability levels found from 2016 to 2019, it's going to take one of three things, or a combination of them. Either the median price of a single-family home would need to plunge more than 39% to $257,000. The median household income would have to rise more than 60% to $134,500, or mortgage rates would need to fall to 2.35%. One thing I've heard experts say time and time again is that we will never see interest rates below 5% again in our lifetime. So does this mean we're fresh out of luck? Well, yes and no. We aren't all going to suddenly make exponentially more money, and I don't see home prices plummeting, and the interest rates, they're never making their way back to those 2s. This does mean that if you need to buy a house, whether the one you're in right now is too small, the area you're living in doesn't serve you well, or you're relocating for work, the most affordable time to buy a house is likely now, since we can't time travel back to 2020. I have people frequently ask me, when is the best time to buy a house, or mention that they want to wait for prices or rates to drop. I can think of a few clients I've helped in the past that have had the same mindset, and here we are, several years later with exponentially more expensive homes and even higher interest rates. If we take a look at the chart of the average sales price in the greater Atlanta area over the last 5 years, you're going to see that it just continues to trend upwards. Of course, it's not a perfectly straight line pointing up, but after every slight bit of movement down, it corrects and keeps trending higher. If you bump the calendar back to January of 2012, it's the same story. Can you think of anything that has gotten cheaper year over year for the last decade?
No.
No?
I surely can't, unless it's something that has become obsolete over time. But the difference here is that we will always, without a doubt, need houses. So how can both buyers and sellers win in this market? Well, buyers have some really great opportunities right now to actually secure a lower interest rate and a brand new house. New construction is one of the best opportunities a buyer has right now to get a deal. Especially the closer we get to the end of the year, builders want to get those houses off of their books for the fiscal year, so they don't want to pay any more carrying costs on these homes. So they would rather offer you a permanent rate buy down, throw in some blinds and money towards closing costs to get them off of their books. There are tons and tons of new construction communities all across the Northeast Metro Atlanta area. In fact, I just filmed a whole video about what areas you can expect to find these communities, so make sure you check that out next. For sellers, despite there being plentiful options for buyers, great homes that have been well cared for and were priced right are still moving quickly. In fact, there was recently a beautiful home incoming that I had buyers who were extremely interested in it, but we were certainly not the only ones. There ended up being over 15 offers on this house, and we pulled out all the stops to get this house under contract. All cash, extra earnest money, whatever dates the seller wanted, and we still ended up in second place. This wasn't just a $300,000 house either. We were in line with $850,000, $875,000 offers on this house. So if you are thinking about selling your home but are worried that no one will pay a realistic price in this market, keep this scenario in mind. This house was actually listed significantly lower than what we were all offering on it, which ended up being a huge success for these sellers. Instead of trying to list too high and hope they got a taker, they listed appropriately, well, honestly, maybe a little bit lower than what they should have, and they got to pick the best offer from a silver platter. Now, this home was in great shape. It was a little bit of a unicorn because it had a finished basement, 4-car garage, had some really unique details. So it was really well positioned to appeal to a lot of buyers. Now, had they listed this house for $1 million and just hoped someone would come along and pay that price, they would have had to continually drop the price and likely would have sold for significantly less than what they did. And it would have taken them much longer. If you have an open and honest real estate agent guiding you through the process and you listen to their advice, you can set yourself up in a really great position to cash in on the great equity you're likely sitting on. If you are looking to buy or sell a home here in the Northeast Metro Atlanta area, my team and I would love to be your agents of choice. You can reach us by clicking the link in the pinned comment below this video. So what do you think? Is it a good time to buy or sell a home, or are you planning on staying put? Tell me your thoughts in the comments, and check out this video next to learn more about the hidden cost of moving to Georgia.